Hello guys. So today we're talking about cost of production. So usually cost of production is part of theory of production, but because this chapter is so important, I decided to explain it in another lesson. And this part is important because if you don't understand the cost of production, it's hard for you to comprehend perfect competition, oligopoly, monopoly, and even monopolistic competition in the next few chapters. So let's start. So just a quick refresher. Remember, in the short run, at least one of the factors are fixed, and in the long run, all the variables are variable. So what this means in cost of production is, in the short run, because there's at least one factor is fixed, so there's a fixed cost and there's a variable cost. And in the long run, because all the variables can be varied, so there's no fixed cost, only variable costs. Okay. So first is the short run. So as you know, fixed cost is something that we cannot change in the very short run. So for fixed cost, the cost of the curve is just a horizontal line. Oh, and before that, the axis is just quantity and cost. Makes sense, right? For example, if you are purchasing, or if you are using Inti as one of the factors of production, the building of Inti cannot be changed. You cannot buy 2 Inti or 3 Inti. So the cost of maintaining Inti is fixed. Okay. However, as for the variable cost, it's slope upwards, meaning as you increase your quantity, your cost goes upwards. Makes sense also, right? Because if, for example, you want to hire lecturers, the more lecturers you hire, or the more students you want to teach, you need to hire more lecturers, which makes you increase your costs. So the curve is slope upwards. Sorry, there's a mistake over here. Quantity, cost, the curve is slope upwards from the origin. Remember, from the origin. Because if quantity equals 0, the cost is equals to 0 also. Okay. Next is total cost. Total cost is just the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So it is just a move of the curve from origin to the amount to the price of the fixed cost. For example, 5. This is 5. Okay. Next is average total cost. Average cost is actually just total cost divided by quantity, and I'll explain the reason why later. But average cost is just a curve like this. Okay, same cost and quantity. Now average variable cost. See, the graph of average cost and average variable cost is almost the same. So the curve for average variable cost is also the same, but just lower than the average cost. Meaning, if this is average variable cost, then the average cost may be just on top of it. Okay. Next is on average fixed cost. So remember, the original average fixed cost curve is horizontal. So what this means is, the more quantity you produce, and the fixed cost is just divided by the quantity. So if the top part is fixed and the bottom part keeps increasing, you will expect the curve to be something like this. Meaning, as the quantity you produce increase, the average fixed cost keeps reducing and reducing and reducing. Okay. Now, next is the marginal cost. The marginal cost, the curve is something like this. I believe you guys, I've told you guys before that the shape is like this, but I'll explain to you why I did so in the next few slides. Okay, so now I want you guys to pause and try to identify each of the cost curve. So first of all, you know the blue one is definitely the average fixed cost. The green one is definitely the marginal cost. The red one is definitely average cost, and the yellow one is definitely average variable cost. Another thing I want you guys to take note is that notice that at the minimum point of the average cost curve and the average variable cost curve is where the marginal cost curve intersects the two curves. The reason is, like I explained last week in the class, is okay. You imagine now we have a group of people, all the average of the people, the age of the people is 20 years old. Okay, so now if you have someone 19 years old going in, meaning lower than the mean, lower than average, then what happens is your average will drop. Right? Now, if you have someone 21 years old going in, meaning higher than the mean, then the average will rise. So, this is actually just the same. This is actually the same thing. Meaning, for example, if at this point, the average cost is, let's say, 20. Now, if the marginal cost, meaning the new person going in, is more than 20, then it will rise. But if it's less than 20, then it will decrease. Okay? Same goes to the average variable cost curve. Next, I'll explain to you the relationship between the law of diminishing return and the short run curve. So, the reason why the marginal cost curve is something like a Nike tick is because of the law of diminishing return. So this is very important. So just pay attention. Okay. So now remember in the law of diminishing returns we are talking about physical product, right? The total, marginal, and average physical product. Okay, and you remember that the curve for the total physical product, marginal physical product, and average physical product is something like this, right? It's something like this, 1, 2, 3, with this as the total physical product, this the marginal physical product, this is the average physical product. Remember? If not, you can pause and try to look back. Okay. Now, how it relates back here is that, first of all, product is related to let's say that is related to cost. Why? Because the cost is directly derived from the product. That is why there's a relationship between these two items. Okay, so now if you can see here, when the marginal physical product is at its maximum over here, you can see that the marginal cost curve is at its minimum. The marginal cost curve is at its minimum. The reason for this is because, I'll just use this part over here. If the marginal physical product is rising, what this means is one labor, the increase of one labor is giving more physical product than before. More physical product than before, right? We call this increasing marginal returns. Okay, so if by increasing one input you are getting more and more output, then the marginal cost of producing one output is definitely low. It's definitely going to drop, right? So this is the reason why. This is the reason why when the marginal physical product, when it's increasing over here, the marginal cost is decreasing, and when it reaches its maximum point, the marginal cost curve reaches its minimum point. Okay. Second thing is, you notice that when the marginal physical product cuts the average physical product curve, it is at its maximum. Same goes to the cost curve. When the marginal cost cuts the average cost here, it is also at its minimum. Okay. Reason being, if the average physical product or the average cost is at its minimum, the average physical product is at its maximum, or the average cost is at its minimum, it means that the productivity of the worker, meaning output per worker, is at its maximum. Okay? So now, I want you to pause and just recall the relationship between the marginal physical product and marginal cost, and draw the curve that shows the relationship between the marginal physical product, between the physical product curve and the cost curve. Okay, good. Now, in the long run, there is no fixed cost, so in the long run, the variable cost is just equal to the total cost. Okay, and the average cost is still the same. So does the average variable cost. These two are equal. Meaning this is average cost and this is also the average variable cost. Okay, and why is it both like this? Why is it both like this? It's because of the law of return to scale. Okay. Lastly, the marginal cost, meaning the change in total cost over change in quantity. It's also same as the short run. It's some sort of a Nike shape. With the same reason, law of diminishing marginal returns. You know what I'm trying to write. Okay. Now, I mentioned just now. Remember, in the long run, we say it's sorry. Okay, so the marginal cost is shaped like this. It's not because of the law of diminishing returns. Because the law of diminishing returns, remember, is just in the short run. So I apologize for that. Okay. The reason it's shaped like this is because of the law of return to scale. I'll explain that later. Okay. So, as I mentioned, the long run curve is due to the law of return to scale. So what this means is, if you look at the average cost curve, okay, you can actually see, you can actually divide it into three parts. First is AB, second is BC, third is CD. Okay. For the first part, the cost is decreasing as output increase. The second part, the cost is constant as output increase. The third part is the cost is increasing as output increase. So, what we can say to this is, because AB is actually when AB happens when there is increasing returns, meaning increasing returns to scale due to economies of scale or any sort of other things. Okay, BC on the other hand is due to the constant return to scale, and CD is due to the diminishing, decreasing return to scale due to this economics of scale. Understand? Okay. Another thing that you need to know is B. At point B, we call this point the marginal efficient. The minimum efficient scale. The minimum efficient scale. What this means is, at point B, any increase in output will not help to reduce the cost. Increase in output will not reduce costs. Okay, and the definition of this is, the minimum efficient scale is the one size that beyond that size of output, there's no more economies of scale. That's what we call minimum efficient scale. Okay? Now, we'll be talking about the relationship between the short run average the short run average cost curve and the long run average cost curve. Okay? So, let's think of a situation. This is the short run average cost curve 1. Okay? For example, this is a factory and they are now producing at the minimum point. Okay? This the output here is they are producing at OQ1. Okay. Now, let's say that now the demand for the good increase. They need to increase their output to maybe, let's say, Q2 over here. This will increase their cost, right? So now this will increase their cost to to C2. So this is something that is not very good to do. So what the firms can consider doing is they may consider building another production factory. So if they now for short run average cost they have one factory. Okay, so if they consider building another factory, what will happen is we may have a new short run average cost curve. I'll draw it better over here. You have a new short run average cost curve, short run average cost with two factories. Okay, so if you repeat the procedure from Q1 to Q2, Q2 to Q3, now same thing. The price will increase. The cost will increase this much according to the cost curve 2. So they may consider building the third factory. Short run average cost curve 3 with 3 factories. So what we are doing right now is, we are considering the change of the fixed factor one by one, from 1 factory to 2 factories to 3 factories, right? So this is actually, now just to show it, just to let you know is that the long run average cost curve is actually joining the minimum point of each and every short run average cost curve. Why? Because if you repeat the procedure, there may be a curve for 4 factories, 5 factories, 6 factories, and so on. Understand? In other words, this just shows that the fixed factors and all other factors are variable. Now, like mentioned before, the long run average cost curve is derived from the minimum point of the short run average cost of every level of output. The minimum point. Okay? Now, there may be possible shifts of the long run average cost curve from maybe A to B or A to C. So if the curve shift upwards from A to B, what this means is for every point of output, the cost has increased. This is due to external diseconomies of scale. Okay. On the other hand, if it shifts from A to C, meaning at every single output, the cost decrease. This is due to external economies of scale. Okay, so remember, if the long run curve shifts, it's due to external factors of economics or diseconomies of scale. Okay. Lastly, about cost is I'll let you guys know what is the difference between accounting costs and economic costs. Okay, so for accounting costs, we include the normal costs like labor, labor, electric bill, phone bills, purchase of raw materials, stuff like that. Economic costs, we include everything in the accounting costs, and we also include opportunity cost of owner's sign. So for example, if person A if person A is earning a salary of 10,000 ringgit, okay, and the person A now open a factory by resigning his job and opening the factory. So we considered this 10,000 ringgit as the opportunity cost foregone. So we'll include this into the economic cost. Okay. Now next is we will also include interest foregone. Interest foregone. Let's say now person A, same guy, he has 10,000 ringgit put into a bank. 10,000 ringgit put into a bank, and he uses this 10,000 ringgit to invest in the factory. Now, if he remains the 10,000 ringgit in the bank, he will get 5% interest every year. Okay, so the economic cost for the and if he put it into the factory, there's no interest. So if the 5% of 10,000 ringgit is 500 ringgit, so we say that this 500 ringgit is part of the economic cost of the owner. Okay, so in the next few chapters, perfect competition, oligopoly, monopoly or monopolistic competition, these four things we will be using economic costs. Okay, that's it for cost of production. Thank you.